Hi guys, it's me, Sakhir HD, and welcome tonight to the review of Day 2 of pre-season testing. Hopefully you guys are doing well ahead of this review of the action from today. And there's quite a bit. Definitely the team's pushing quite a bit harder today than what we saw yesterday, which is great because, yesterday we didn't really see, maybe AlphaTauri you could argue were the only team really that started to push quite hard with their new 2022 car. But we definitely got to see a lot more of what the probable pace is for 2022 in terms of the pecking order. And of course, in this stream, we'll be getting into that and how all the teams look, of course, going into tomorrow, which is the final day of pre-season testing ahead of next weekend's Bahrain Grand Prix. But hopefully you guys are doing well, and no matter what time it is in your part of the world, no matter what part of the world you're from, hopefully you're having the best day possible at the moment, given whatever circumstances you're going through. But let's first get into the results before we get into the respective teams and how they all got on. So, Carlos Sainz ended up fastest with a 1:33.5. I know people will be saying, actually, Kevin Magnussen went quickest. No, he didn't. He set a time that was 0.3 quicker than Carlos Sainz on the C4 tyre, but it was not during the actual session itself. Plus, because he had probably better conditions to drive in, it's not really representative compared to the other runners, who had to drive in different conditions. So, yeah, I'm going to keep Magnussen in P9. So Carlos Sainz was the fastest on a 1:33.5. Max Verstappen was second, and he was half a second almost behind. Then you got Stroll in third, Hamilton fourth, Ocon fifth, Leclerc sixth, Norris seventh, just a second separating the top seven, and then the rest of the order. Vettel, Magnussen, and Tsunoda, the rest of the top 10, and then Bottas, Schumacher, Russell, Latifi, and Guan Yu Zhou, the rest of the drivers who ran. Of course, Perez, Gasly, Ricciardo, Albon, and Alonso did not do any running today. Now, it will be important to remember this, really for the rest of this review stream, the tyres that there's certain times were done on. So, Carlos Sainz, his best time of a 1:33.5 was done on the C4 compound. Max Verstappen's best time was also done on the C4 compound. The Aston Martin, I think, was done on the C4 compound as well. Yeah, it was. Lewis Hamilton's best time was done on the C5 compound of tyre. Ocon's best time was done in the morning, and that was done on the C4. Leclerc's best time done in the morning as well, and that was also on the C4. And then Norris's best time was done on the C3, I'm pretty sure, towards the end of the session, and that was about second off Carlos Sainz. And then Vettel, I'm pretty pretty sure he did his time on a C3, and then Magnussen was a C3, and Tsunoda was a C2. So those are the different tyres for the top 10 runners, and make of that what you will. But now let's get into the teams. And we'll start off, of course, with the Mercedes team. And, it was great to see today more representative running. George Russell this morning did a proper race run. That's why, of course, he was 5 seconds off the pace. But I think it was great to see, again, Mercedes really start to get near their full potential. But you have to say, given what we saw, it was, if you are a Mercedes fan, quite underwhelming, because considering that they did a run, I don't even think it was one run, it was like 2 or 3 runs, I think, on the C5 tyre. And the best he could do was 0.6 of a second slower than Carlos Sainz when Sainz was on the C4, and the C4 should only be 2 or 0.3 of a second, really, slower around this track compared to the C5. So not a massive difference, but still, a difference. But if you're looking at Mercedes this season to be really, right up there like they usually are, it's not looking good at the moment. And I know people saying Mercedes are still massively sandbagging. I don't think they're the only team who are, sandbagging the, say, heaviest. I think also Red Bull have been very similar to Mercedes in terms of not showing their full hand. And when they start to show what they have, they tend to do it at the same time as Mercedes. So I don't honestly think right now that the Mercedes team can really sit there and think that they have the best car. I just don't think the evidence is there at the moment to suggest that Mercedes are, contending absolute at the front of the field. I don't think, I don't think they're going to be a second off the pace or anything like that. I don't think it'll be anything dramatic like that, but I definitely do not think that they are the fastest team right now. I just don't. When you see the car on track, it just doesn't look comfortable. It's very similar to last year Mercedes, where we came to testing last year. Of course, completely different regulations. I get that. But when Mercedes came to testing last year, they didn't look that comfortable. The car did not look really as great as you would have thought it kind of would be. And then, of course, for the first race or two, ended up being definitely slower than their main rivals, of course, last season, Red Bull. And that's what it kind of looks like at the moment. I mean, Mercedes could absolutely improve on the instability of their car that they clearly have right now. On the rear end, the car definitely is not stable. And the porpoising issue of them, bumping aggressively down the straights is still an issue. It's not as bad for teams like Ferrari and Red Bull. Those teams definitely seem to have more of a handle on it. When Mercedes are still, I think, struggling when it comes to that. They will find a way of fixing that in the next couple months or so, but it's still a bit concerning that they are still struggling with that when, if you look at the Ferrari, for example, down the straight, it's not having that issue. Or, just through the corners and around the track generally. So, yeah, not a great thing at the moment for Mercedes. And again, when you see the car on track, even though people may say, well, they're still sandbagging heavily, and even people like Christian Horner are saying that Mercedes are, really not showing what they have yet. When you see the car on track, it doesn't look like an absolute, best car in the field type of car. It really just does not. And I would say right now, they are probably at best the second quickest team. But most likely, I'd probably say they have the third best car right now. I don't think they're, bad enough to be a midfield team. I don't think it's really like a situation like we saw with McLaren and Ferrari back in 2009, where they went from title contenders to midfield runners for the first half of that season. I don't think it's a situation like that, but they are definitely lacking quite a bit of speed in comparison to Ferrari. I mean, at the moment, I would say Ferrari are clearly quicker than Mercedes. And again, I know certain people will say, oh no, Mercedes, they'll show some more speed. Carlos Sainz, of course, has been playing down the speed of the Ferrari. But I just don't think we've seen any evidence that Mercedes, do actually have a properly good championship-winning car. I just don't think we have that evidence as of yet. They could easily prove us wrong tomorrow. And, the jury is still out on whether they do have a car that can contend at the very, very front. And, I mean, we'll see tomorrow when they push hard again, whether there is a bit more pace in that car. But I just don't think, when I look at that car, I just don't see a car right now that is winning races. I just don't see it. I think they'll still be contenders for, the top 5, obviously, on the grid. There's no doubt about that, and maybe even podiums. I want to stress that I don't think Mercedes are going to be like Ferrari were in 2020 or anything like that. But when you think of Mercedes, of course, since the start of the hybrid era, they've been basically the fastest car in every season, bar probably one or two. So, I had a slight issue there. Hopefully the stream hasn't gone off for you guys. What was I going to say? Yeah, with Mercedes, you'd expect them to be, at least the second quickest team, given what we've seen since the hybrid era began back in 2014. But at the moment, they are not looking good. And they're looking, I would say, definitely slower than Red Bull. Maybe not that much slower than Red Bull, but slower. But compared to Ferrari, they're definitely behind them. And have a lot of work to do to get that car really working and planted and as balanced looking as the Ferrari car is at the moment. Next up is Red Bull. And yeah, Red Bull, I thought had a good day. Car again looks very balanced. They looked very, very good balance-wise as well on the race run, not just the the lower fuel running they were doing. And the lap time that Max Verstappen did in the end, I thought was pretty good. And I think it does point, as we'll get onto in a moment when we get to the Ferrari team, who I do think at the moment have the best car. I don't think Ferrari have, a dominant half a second at least per lap quicker car compared to everyone else. And I think the lap time that Max Verstappen did in or at the end of the day, towards the end of the day, proves that even though I think Ferrari have the best car right now, Max and Red Bull are still close enough that they can give, I think, Ferrari definitely a good race. So that is good to see, because one thing we don't want is, a team to become all dominant and win basically every single Grand Prix except 2 or 3 in the season. That's not what we want during this season. I would ideally want 2 or 3 teams contending for the championship in 2022. And I think Red Bull, I don't think they're as quick as Ferrari. And I think Red Bull have basically confirmed that, even though Red Bull, as we'll get into later, we haven't seen the full Red Bull finished product in terms of what they'll have for the Bahrain Grand Prix next weekend, and I'll get into that later on. But I think Red Bull are still close enough that if Ferrari, aren't particularly quick, or as quick as expected, or mistakes are made, I still think they're close enough, Red Bull, to absolutely be winning races and be contending towards the front. And of course, we know with Max Verstappen that he normally drags the Red Bull car into positions or, shows such pace from the Red Bull car that it is quite unbelievable at times. So Max Verstappen definitely, I think, will be a strong contender this season. I mean, of course, that was to be expected. He is the world champion. But I think what we saw in the afternoon session shows that Red Bull still have a good car. Maybe not the best, but still a good car. We'll see what they do tomorrow. And yeah, later on I'll get on to what is going to be happening for tomorrow for Red Bull and why I think for Red Bull, they're probably going to be the team to look out for the most tomorrow. And like I said, we'll get onto that more later in this stream. Next up, we'll go to Ferrari. And for me, this session, this test session today, just further proved that Ferrari absolutely, it's not just me saying it, most people I think in the paddock think this, even some people, some competitors are even saying this, that Ferrari right now have the best looking car. And I don't think that's really, under that much doubt. The car hasn't really stepped out once. It looks very planted and balanced. Of course, the two drivers are very good drivers, and they just look absolutely brilliant in this car. And the lap times they're doing in comparison to the others are really good. They're really good. And a reminder, by the way, that the time that Carlos Sainz did it with 1:33.5 was done, I think, an hour and a half before Verstappen and Hamilton started to do their quick laps. So if they wanted to, they could have gone out for another, say, run on the C4 soft compound tyre, and because of the grippier track, they probably could have gone a extra couple tenths quicker, even if they were just, running the same fuel load and engine mode, Ferrari. So they definitely, for me, are the strongest looking team right now. I think, honestly, Charles Leclerc's time in the morning really proves that as well, because Leclerc in the morning did a 8 tenths of a second off Carlos Sainz. Of course, in the afternoon, there would have been more grip because it would have been a bit cooler. When it gets too hot, like it does in the morning session, it's pretty hard to set, a properly quick single lap time. So, considering that he was only 8 tenths off Carlos Sainz in the morning, and Leclerc was on the C3 compound when he did that lap time, I think it shows, no matter who's in the car, Leclerc or Sainz, this car is very, very quick. And for me, right now, until I'm proven otherwise, Ferrari have the best car. I don't really think much doubt can be had about that. Again, we'll see more of Mercedes and Red Bull tomorrow, and whether there is, in comparison to Ferrari, that much more left in the tank to illustrate where they absolutely are for this season. But for me, Ferrari are the clear best team. They look the best. The lap times look the most impressive. So, yeah, I can't really say any more than that. And I would say, if you are a Ferrari fan, be very excited. Again, and I said this in my watch-along that I did earlier. By the way, make sure to go and check out that watch-along that I did from earlier. I said that given the times that Verstappen and Hamilton were doing, Ferrari should be very happy. I think especially so in comparison to Hamilton, when Hamilton only 6 tenths, a full 6 tenths away from Carlos Sainz, and Hamilton was on a softer tyre. So, it does show you that Ferrari, in comparison to Mercedes, are definitely very quick, and compared to Red Bull, are still pretty quick. So, yeah, like I said, if you're a Ferrari fan, be excited, because I think there is a lot of potential, absolutely, in this new Formula 1 season for the Scuderia. Next up is McLaren. McLaren, reliability-wise, did not have that great of a day again. Didn't do as many laps as they wanted to. Lando Norris broke down at the exit of the pit lane as well, causing one of the red flags. Luckily, did get out pretty quickly again, but as we'll get onto later on, they are still having issues with the brakes, and they're having to mitigate for that. So that is not great at this point to see them still suffering, where, when we have barely that much time left in terms of track running to go until the first Grand Prix weekend. So, yeah, not great on that front. Thing is, though, with McLaren, if you look at the pace of the car, I can't really get that disappointed. That's the thing. Reliability-wise, there are definitely concerns right now with the overheating brakes and the just rise in temperatures that they get in those brakes when they go out on track, which is why they can't do these really, long runs on circuit. But when you look at the pace of the car, it looks good. It does look good. When you compare Norris's lap time, for example, at the towards the end of the session, Norris only 4 tenths of a second slower than Hamilton on, I'm pretty sure, 2 compound harder tyres. That's very good. That's very, very good. I mean, the difference between a C3 and a C5 should be about 7 or 8 tenths of a second at least. So, that's a very, very good pace for the McLaren to have on similar-ish fuel loads. And I think there's, it's really without doubt the McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes would have all had similar fuel loads for their quickest times today. The only real thing to look at in terms of sandbagging is what engine mode were they in. But in terms of fuel load, I think they were all kind of on similar fuel loads. But yeah, the pace is there for McLaren. And I think it's going to be, as long as they're reliable, it's going to be a good season for them. They're just having issues at the moment getting in the laps, which won't be great for their confidence going, of course, into the race next weekend, given that they've not been able to do really a full race run as of yet. So, yeah, not great for McLaren, but once they get those reliability issues fixed, I think McLaren are going to be looking maybe not absolutely right at the sharp end of the grid, but they're going to be looking strong to a certain extent. I think we can absolutely say that. Next up is Aston Martin. A better day, I would say, for Aston Martin. Their car still doesn't look that great to me. Sebastian Vettel did a decent run in the morning, but he was more so focusing really on doing a race run. For Lance Stroll, again, the car looked better in the afternoon compared to how it looked on day one. But I don't know. I just still don't think with I still don't think with Lance Stroll that, or not with Lance Stroll, but with Aston Martin, I don't think there's an absolutely phenomenal car under there. I just don't think there is. I think AlphaTauri, like we saw from yesterday, I think they've got a pretty good car right now. And of course, we'll see with Alpine, who I thought looked pretty good today as well, how they look when they start to push a bit harder. But it was a better day, at least for Aston Martin. I think the pace also they showed was better than what we saw on day one, and what we saw in Barcelona as well. So a more positive day for Aston Martin, but nothing special. If they can keep this up and, in terms of the progression they've had so far in this test, then that would be great. But I just don't think there's that much of a good car there. I'd be surprised, really, if they had one of the top 5 cars on the grid. Next up is Alpine, who, in terms of reliability, had another poor day because, of course, Esteban Ocon broke down out on track. But other than that, he did a lot of laps. He did over 100 laps today for Alpine. So, that's quite a bit of running, and that's, great for the team. That's over, or pretty much 2 race distances, I think he did for today. But still, again, another breakdown that is not great for Alpine going into the new season. But they did show more pace today, did the Alpine team. And it looks decent, I'd say. Nothing special, nothing very good. If you're, comparing them to the rest of the field. But yeah, they look like they have decent pace. It's similar to McLaren. They're pretty much Alpine, by the look of it, kind of a midfield version of McLaren. The reliability needs to be sorted, because once they get it sorted, the pace is absolutely there to have some decent results in 2022. But yeah, let's just see, I think, tomorrow, whether they can get through the entire day without having any breakdowns or anything like that. That would be, I think, a really good day for the Alpine team, considering the trouble they've had in the shakedown last couple of weeks ago in Barcelona, and also here. Next up, AlphaTauri. There's not really much to say about AlphaTauri. Tsunoda basically just did race simulation running, and that's why he was 3.2 seconds off the pace. We'll probably see tomorrow, hopefully, confirmation of what we saw on day one. AlphaTauri do have a decent car, pace-wise, especially compared to, say, Aston Martin, Alpine, and Williams. So, yeah, we'll see what happens in regards to that tomorrow. But, yeah, not really that much to talk about in regards to today. Next up, Williams. And for Williams, it was, well, a bad day. They had a rear brake fire, which caused Latifi to stop out on track midway through the morning session, and he never got out again. So, of course, that is very bad for them, because after day one, where they showed some decent pace, I was actually looking forward quite a bit to see, what Latifi could do in the car and whether they could show some decent turn of pace again. But of course, having that issue, is not great. Especially when, they've now missed out on 5.5 hours at least of running. So yeah, that's not great for the team. Hopefully can make that up with some good running tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see what they do and hopefully show a continuation of the decent pace that they have. Next up, Alfa Romeo. Not really much to say. They don't really have that quick of a car. I mean, same really with Haas F1. Them and Haas F1 basically competing for last place. Guan Yu Zhou in the afternoon just did race runs. Valtteri Bottas, I think, did his best time on the C3 compound in P11. So when you compare that to Kevin Magnussen later on in the day, who did his best time before he did his, top 133.2 on the C4 after the actual running had finished. Magnussen did his best time of a C3 compound of a 1:36.4, I believe. So Alfa Romeo and Haas, I would say, are probably around the same place when it comes to pace. And yeah, that's really all that can be said. We may as well move on to Haas F1 now. And yeah, great to see Kevin Magnussen, by the way, back in the car. Sorry. Great to see him back in the car. And did pretty well. He looked pretty good on track. Didn't really make that many mistakes. The Haas car didn't always look that great. There was plenty of times where it really collected bad amounts of not oversteer, understeer through the last couple corners on the lap. Of course, great news, him doing the glory run at the end after everyone had finished, but I don't think we can really read anything into that because, again, Magnussen would have been on probably quite skinny fuel and the temperatures would have been more so ideal, and also the grip of the track would have been even better than it was for the runners, the other runners, when they finished the session. So I'm not really going to read too much into what Kevin Magnussen did, but yeah, at least he's back in F1. Looked pretty good, and Haas look competitive, I would say, in terms of they're able now to race another team, even though the other team's Alfa Romeo, and they're basically battling for last place, I think, in this Formula One season. But let me now move back on to these pictures up here. And I think... sorry for the indigestion. I think we will move on now to some of the news stories coming out of today. And I think we should start probably with Mercedes. So, Lewis Hamilton was talking earlier, and he said that some of Mercedes' rivals are coping better than they are with the porpoising problem that many teams have experienced in testing. And he said when it comes to the porpoising problem and the other teams, he said the package is very similar. It's really the wind, the bouncing that we have. We still have that this week. If anything, it's worse. That's not good. So we're just looking through lots of different scenarios, trying to work out how to hold on to the downforce and not have it bouncing as it was in the last test. I think everyone's probably in a similar boat. Some have managed to get around it in a better way. And then he says, but it's difficult out there. It's bumpy, slippery, and sandy. In the morning, it's way too hot, and in the afternoon, it's gusty. And then when we get down to the other quotes, he talks about, or he responds, I would say, to the claims by Red Bull team boss Christian Horner that Mercedes are disguising their true pace massively. And his response is, we'd be really, really good if we were having all these oversteer moments and having this tacky driving just to hide our cars. That's not the case, and I do believe him. We have things that we're trying to get through, and as I said, Others are struggling less, but who knows, when we get to next test, we'll have a good idea. You can see on the onboard, tank slappers left, right, and centre, then bouncing and bumping. It's not quite happy at the moment, but we're trying to tame that. And yeah, I can confirm by watching the session, the Mercedes was not comfortable looking. It just didn't look comfortable at all. Nowhere near as comfortable as a Ferrari or Red Bull. And then he was asked who would lead the way if next week's Bahrain Grand Prix was held tomorrow. Hear what he had to say. He said, I think Ferrari, from what I can see, would probably be getting a 1-2 or maybe Red Bull. So, essentially, Lewis Hamilton confirming that, yeah, they are not as quick as Ferrari and Red Bull right now. And I think that's pretty much, again, the consensus from what we have seen so far in just, testing in general. They'll have to get on top of it very, very soon because, of course, this team used to fighting at the front. They have drivers at the team that want to be fighting for victories, not fighting for just podiums. So they're going to have to get on top of it very, very quickly because if they don't, it could be a messy season for them. Next up, though, we'll move on to the Red Bull team. Because Red Bull, like I said earlier, they are going to be the team to look out for tomorrow. The reason is because Red Bull are bringing, as Sergio Perez has revealed, a significant update to its RB18 car for the final day of pre-season testing. So Mercedes, of course, brought a major upgrade for its car at the start of the second test. Red Bull, their big upgrade is coming tomorrow. And then Perez says, I think it's all visually easy to spot. You'll see it tomorrow. However, the team is not planning to duplicate the zero side pod design of Mercedes. And Christian Horner says the team's priority is preparing for the opening race. When asked whether the Red Bull car will receive any significant upgrades over the remainder of the test, and he said, obviously, we're preparing for the first race. There'll be a few little bits and pieces that appear on the car as the week goes on, but the main focus is next weekend. So yeah, when it comes to tomorrow, we need to look out for Red Bull, because if there's going to be, when you look at the front running, front 3 or 4 teams, if there's going to be a team that possibly surprise us or show maybe there's a different team at the head of the field, it's probably going to be Red Bull if that upgrade, really starts to show its worth during the third and final day of testing. So look out for that. And, if you're a Red Bull fan, of course, you'll be hoping it does wonders and gives them, an extra half a second per lap. Just trying to see if there's anything else. Actually, I can talk about this. I may as well talk about this before we come to the comments and come to your comments in chat. We just cut to this. So we'll go back to McLaren because in the, a new update about their brakes and all of that, Andrea Seidel said they face a race against time to solve the brake problem and that they are rushing new parts to Bahrain to solve the problem. And he said, after the good test we had in Barcelona, the first 1.5 days here definitely did not go to plan. We have unexpectedly, an issue with the front axle with the brakes, which we have to solve. It's a race against time at the moment in order to get upgraded parts here. And then he also says we still made steps of modifications we could do here in the track the last 1.5 days, which still allow us to work on the car, working on the understanding of the car as well. And that's also to confirm they have also brought other upgrades to other parts of the car that was speculated upon anyway. So, yeah, we'll see when it comes to McLaren whether they can solve that issue when the upgraded parts arrive in Bahrain for the first Grand Prix. Probably still going to have the issues, to be honest, tomorrow, so they'll have to again mitigate for it. But like I said, with McLaren, the pace is there. They just need to solve that braking problem and keep any other possible reliability issues at bay, because McLaren, I think, when they really show what they've got, I think have a car that can absolutely contend for, say, podiums in 2022. That's what it looks like to me. So yeah, hopefully they get on top of that. But before I go anywhere else, I'm now going to come to you guys in the chat. So let me know in chat what you thought of what I've all said, and what did you think of the day of testing so far. And let me know in chat, in regards to the front of the field, who do you think the top 4 teams are right now in order? Do you think it is Ferrari, then Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren? Let me know in the live chat and comment section down below. Just want to say, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, because I will be live tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. UK time for the final afternoon session of pre-season testing. I'll be going from 11:30 a.m. UK time, which is half an hour before the start of the afternoon session, and then going all the way until 4 p.m. UK time. And then tomorrow, later in the evening at not 7 p.m. but instead 8 p.m. UK time, I will be doing the review of pre-season testing. And also at some point tomorrow, I'm going to try and get Nib on to give his thoughts as well. So if you are new to the channel, then don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there. And don't forget as well to smash this smash the like button, if I can speak English, and share this video and channel everywhere you can. Anyway, let's try and read some comments. Hello to everyone in chat, by the way. Addiction says this year's cars don't seem slower than last year's. No, I think they are. I think they are slower. Maybe not that much slower, but I think at the minute I'd say they are still probably slower, because if you compare the times at the moment to, pole position in Bahrain last year, they're still, 4.5, 5 seconds off the pace. Mercedes doesn't look very good this far. Surprising. Yeah, it definitely is a surprise. Rivaldo says, for me, I think Mercedes needs those side pods back or something better up their sleeves. Cam Waller says, it's only testing, let's see what happens next week, but I'm pleased Ferrari look good so that Max can drive dirty with them this year. Joke. Let's see if there's anything else. Still sandbagging, I see, says KG. Speaking of sandbagging, I know this one chick, quite the drama queen. Let's see if there's anything else. EJZ says, so Leclerc potentially could be the winner of 2022. In regards to, the championship and all of that, I don't think right now I'm really thinking about that. To be honest, when I'm looking at testing at the moment, I'm only thinking really about, at the moment, who has the best car and all of that. In terms of predicting the championships, I mean, tomorrow I'll have to, really just look and see, who I think has the best cars to formulate my prediction, because I am going to be making predictions for the Drivers and Constructors Championship, which you guys will see on the channel appear before the start of the season next weekend. But I still don't think right now I can absolutely say who I think is going to win the Drivers or Constructors Championship. It is pretty tough to say, because even if a certain team is quicker, if the team behind it is only a tenth or two behind is actually a stronger team, and just has a slower car, that doesn't mean they can't still be champions. So, yeah. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow. Hopefully, we see some surprises. Hopefully, we get to see something that maybe, makes us think twice as to what the real pecking order is going into 2022. But I think, guys, I may as well end it there. Wasn't the most eventful day, not as eventful really as yesterday. So yeah, I think I'll end it there. Again, I'll be live tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. UK time for the Day 3 watch along, and live again at 8 p.m. UK time for the Day 3 review. Hopefully you guys come along to that. And also, make sure to come to the review of day 3, because in that stream I'm going to reveal what my schedule is going to be for next week, and you're going to have to see for yourself, because there is a lot of content coming next week, and I mean a lot of content coming next week. So yeah, make sure to come along to that. Again, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, if you are new, to subscribe for more content like this. Bottom right of the screen to do it right there. As well, smash the like button, share this video, and channel everywhere you can. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChazHD5 and join my Discord server, link below in the description. But guys, until tomorrow, the final day of pre-season testing ahead of what could be a very exciting Formula 1 season in 2022. It has been me, Chazzer HD. Goodbye.